Well, Distell is a South African wine, spirits and flavoured alcoholic beverages producer and marketer. Distell was created in 2000 by the merger of Stellenbosch Farmers Winery and Distillers Corporation. The company has a market cap, 26.4 billion rand, price to earnings ratio of 24 and a dividend yield of 2.2%. Chris, do you want me to throw this to you up front?
Yeah, Distell, up until a few years ago, was regarded as being what's called a widows and orphans stock. You know, it was always turned out good earnings and paid out nice dividends, but it was never that exciting. However, that's changed a bit in recent years. You know, Paul mentioned the Alco Pops, and they're very prominent in that market with things like Hunters and this type of thing. So they've done very well on that front. They've done particularly well on the export front. I mean, you can find things like Amarula, for example, in so many countries around the world these days. So I think they've changed. They've changed gear a bit. They've gone from being this rather boring, staid, albeit very good company, into one that's a much more exciting company. One of the few problems I have with this company, though, is the shareholder spread. Only about 10 or 11, 12% of it is outside of SAB Miller, Rembrandt and KW.
So a tiny free float.
Very tiny free float.
Paul, well, that's not a good start, is it?
Yeah, just to explain that, I mean, the consolidation of SFW, Stellenbosch Farmers Winery, and Distillers brought those shareholders into the play because SAB Miller was there. So SAB Miller today has about 30% of Distell. Then this control block between the Cape Vin shareholders, which is really Remgro and the PSG guys, they own another 58%. So you add those two together and you've got basically 88-90% of the shares of this company, Distell, totally off the market. So that is the problem. But the corporate strategy has been impressive. As Chris says, all of the infill, all of the extra products, all of the globalization. In recent months, they bought a Scotch whiskey manufacturing and distilling and blending business somewhere up there in Scotland. I know absolutely nothing about that. I'm sure Chris, being a resident up there.
It's called Bunnahaven. Lovely whiskey.
Fabulous place. So, I mean, that adds to the appeal as well. Then the internationalization thing, because clearly South African branded liquors have some appeal globally as sort of niche market, where that's also attractive. So put it all to lot together, and it certainly looks like a company with scope to increase earnings.
Chris, do you echo those sentiments? It's a company that will increase earnings.
Absolutely. As Paul says, you know, it's done remarkably well on the acquisition front outside of its known expertise. So the Bunnahaven one was a particularly good acquisition, I think. I think this got some very strong earnings coming through in years to come.
Any additional downside? You were highlighting the potential pitfalls when it came to SAB Miller, Paul. Anything you'd like to highlight here?
Yeah, I suppose, again, regulatory issues may come through. I mean, South Africa, which is where this company has most of its assets, in contrast to SAB Miller with, you know, everything from Colombia to China. South Africa is an interesting model because in this country we have a political system which is dominated by half the people who think that drinking is the source of all evil, and then another half who seem to have a binge drinking problem. So it's like we have this bipolar approach to alcohol. Half of us want to ban it, and the other half just want to hit the bottle as soon as possible after the end of work. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think we're going to see too much in the way of negative regulation, but I think it is just something that they will keep a handle on and keep a hold on. As far as the businesses in this space are concerned, though, I think they're just going to be making hay and the sun's going to keep shining.
Highlight those ready-made drinks in this stable. Chris, just coming back to that, and perhaps they're catering for what Paul mentioned was potentially missing with the beer affiliation for SAB Miller. These are the drinks that potentially youth want to drink?
RTDs, yes, Alco Pops, whatever you want to call them, ciders, you name it. Particularly popular with women and the younger generation. And SAB Miller hasn't been slow to get into that market either, I must admit.
Sorry, I'm remiss. They're there.
They have things like Reds, for example, Brutal Fruit, this type of thing. So they're both up there, you know, squaring off against each other, and they both realize that these are very, very big growth markets. I do have to echo to a very limited extent Paul's concerns here, because, you know, when you are in that youth market, you have to be very, very concerned that you're not catering to the underage market. And both of these companies, you know, make sure that they do not do that in any way, shape or form.
Look, the person who invented those ready-made drinks like Clippy's Coke should get the Nobel Prize for Business, because, I mean, the margins on that are fabulous compared to selling, you know, a 2-litre Coke and a large 750ml bottle of Klipdrift. It's just incredible the value uplift that's obtained from that. So taking advantage of the insatiable desire in this market for upper middle income people to have to do absolutely no work and just drink it straight out the can. Fabulous, just fabulous.
Hot or not, Paul, on Distell?
Yeah, you know, I think you could have seen that chart we showed a moment ago of the 5-year thing. It's just gone up, notwithstanding the limited liquidity. So even if you thought you were overpaying for them, if there is an opportunity to pick them up, I would say it's hot and will continue to be.
Chris, hot or not?
Yep, this is another hot stock. I like it.